ourselves the elite.
Better than you, and you know it.
If not us, who? And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe!
This is what you call a paradigm shift.
He saw what wrestling was and realized what it could be.
All Elite Wrestling!
For the 21st time, it's Monday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I'm joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
How's it going, bud?
We are just 3 weeks away from Chicago, just 3 weeks away from All Out. The final stop in the road before AEW debuts on TNT on October 2nd, and I could not be more thrilled than I am to be here with all of you discussing a massive week for All Elite Wrestling. If you're joining us for the first time, Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling who are here every single Monday morning with all the latest news from All Elite Wrestling. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars. Just like Meltzer, it makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Makes us feel too sweet, buddy.
You're goddamn right. Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. A lot of action going on Twitter this week. But if you really want to be part of the crew, you got to get involved. tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. Join our Discord server. An awesome active community of AEW fans from all over the world where we discuss anything
Literally
we wish.
Everything.
As always, if you're looking for a specific, particular news story, you want to jump right to it. JD's got the time codes in the description of the episode. But we're going to get right into it and start, as we usually do, with a quote. Quote, "We had a really strong presence in terms of, in this era, you're able to track a lot of data." And I know that it might sound like, whoa, that's the nerdiest answer ever. But you're able to track a lot of data and see where did the most views come from for BR Live and things of that nature. And when I say we've got these artists who are running this and these inmates who are running the asylum, one of the best things that we've done, myself, Matt, Nick, and Kenny as EVPs with AEW, one of the best things we've done is said, okay, we don't know how to do this. Let's hire somebody who does. I'll give you an example. Raphael Morphy, who came from WWE and was there with me as our market rep, that's the individual who can look all across the board, who can strategically place us in the best market and service every market that we possibly can and reflect the data that's being reflected and appease that. And all that math, all that science. We've built a really great team around us, and short answer, I'm a huge fan of American history. The American freaking nightmare. It makes perfect sense that we're in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. So that's the short answer. The long answer is that we've got a lot of really wonderful professional people who said this is the spot you want to be in for the first show. That's a quote from the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, in regards to why Washington, D.C. was picked for the premiere episode. The answer is because Raphael said so. Basically.
Essentially, yeah. I mean, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, even when he's, making it personal for him, like he being a history nerd and all this, like, it's still, even with that, it's like, yeah, that makes sense, dude. I couldn't really think of a better place for you guys to do your first show. It's just the best. It's a centralized location for the East Coast. It's a hub city, so people from the West Coast, the middle of the country, if they want to fly in, it's not like Branson, Missouri, which you're gonna have to do some connecting flights and shit.
Sure, I imagine that the fly-in rate for these television episodes will be much smaller, considering they're on Wednesday and shit.
Going forward, yeah, absolutely. That's going to be the biggest thing. Going forward, I imagine so. This one is going to be like a little bit of the outlier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think after shows 2, 3, 4 down the road, you're not really going to have people flying in very heavily, if at all, for these shows. That's all not being said. These shows are probably still going to sell quite a few tickets because there's a lot of local fans that want to be seeing this stuff live and not just on TV.
I wouldn't be surprised if this whole first tour sells out.
Yeah, I could honestly see them having like a full year of sellouts, and then it'll start tapering off. That's my guess at the moment.
I think Boston and Philly are going to sell out easy.
Oh yeah, that's not, and especially looking at the size of those arenas, it's going to be an easy sellout. I want to see what they're choosing for the rest of the month of October before I'll say like, oh yeah, it's going to be a month full of sellouts. But I'm pretty sure, like you said, that first tour at the minimum is going to be easily sold.
I mean, Boston and Philly are both, Philly especially, but Boston and Philly are pretty good towns for wrestling. So I don't think it'll be a problem for them to sell that out. And which I guess we'll get into because we haven't even talked about that being announced or whatever, unfortunately. But I love this answer from Cody because the question being, hey, why were you in DC? And the answer is, well, the incredibly experienced guy we hired to do that job said that's where we should go. So that's where we went. And to Raphael Morphy's credit, he was totally right.
Yeah, he nailed it 100%.
Sold out in 2 hours, right? So
yeah, and the other thing that was funny to me is he's being honest with, like, yeah, we didn't know how to do this, so we hired some people that are going to tell us how to do this, and we listened to them.
Right. When you have the kind of capital backing that they have, it's not DIY anymore, and no one's going to be like, oh, I'm so proud of you guys for like kind of figuring out how to do it properly. No, just hire the guy that knows how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still parts of the whole experience that are DIY, but it's a mixture of both because it's also, they're hiring someone that knows how to do this, but it's like the other half of that is like they want to learn how to do this so that to, increase their knowledge as well as they know just because we hired this guy, that doesn't mean he's going to stick around forever. So let's figure out what the deal is so that when he decides to leave, we're not just stuck here like, well, shit.
I think Morphy will be on the team for a long time. Being the elite,
I mean, you say that, but looking at how contracts are done nowadays, man, that when that bigger opportunity pops up, it pops up at the drop of a hat.
I think he already has the big opportunity.
That's
I think
true.
that's why he left WWE to get it.
Just saying. It happens.
Being the elite number 166, the aptly named Throwback. This episode's kind of weird because, as we'll get into, it's an intentional throwback to sort of old BTE. So it's not, like usually when we break down BTE, it's because there's a lot of sort of story stuff that happens that matters going forward. This really doesn't have that. This is a travelogue, basically.
It's essentially, yeah, it's kind of like what it boiled down to for me is they had a really big travel week going down to Mexico for Triple Mania. They didn't really have a lot of time to, finish a full episode, as well as there's 100 different things going on at once right now, and this may be more of how we're going to be looking at BTE and less, more light on the story because of just how things are going to be going, and that might be what we have. But I think they had just a real hard time this past week getting everything together with traveling to Mexico and then DC happening and then other announcements so on.
I think the saving grace for them is Brandon Cutler.
Oh yeah, He is making that. He's making himself so valuable. I don't mean to say it that way, but it's true.
You can see it in the episode. Like, he's doing all of the filming. He's probably also got a laptop with him, and is probably also doing all of the editing at this point,
or at least a solid 50 to 60% of it. Yeah.
Because the thing about editing BTE, I imagine it's difficult because you are also a very busy, famous professional wrestler. But there's nothing that Nick was doing in Being the Elite editing wise that would have taken anybody more than a couple of weeks to learn how to do. And that's not an insult to Nick. I think he was doing what he had time to do for that show.
Yeah,
but
especially with being on the road 3 to 5 days a week.
But I think it was right for that. I mean, they signed him as a content creator for Being the Elite, and I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I would be surprised to learn that if he hasn't taken over the reins on both shooting and editing their portion of the show, if not everybody's portion of the show.
I would say at the minimum their portion, just because of some of the things that they talked about in the episode itself.
Right.
And obviously he can't be in 7 places at once. But I'd say at least anybody that's he can easily get to because of where they're traveling to or what event, with Triple Mania, they had the Bucks, Cody, Kenny, all of there. He could film 4 pieces right there.
Right.
Obviously he couldn't really do like SCU if they weren't there, but that's how I think it's going to go, is like if they're all in the same location or very close by, then he's probably going to be doing the filming since they got a new camera.
We will talk about that. It was funny. I don't have it in the notes here, but it is funny to see everybody's like entourage now, which you could see a couple of places in this episode. You could see Cody, or rather, whether it's Cody's or the Elites, they have security guys. They also have they like kind of both have people who are doing film stuff. So they all kind of bump into each other in the fucking middle of the episode.
It's a little bit of a clusterfuck right now as they figure it all out, and part of it is they're in Mexico. They need security guys around them because it's Mexico. Shit happens.
Mexico City, yeah.
Yeah, that may not be the case when, they're in San Diego.
Sure.
Probably still will be at least one guy with them just because, they're at a more famous point now. They can't just go under the radar and walk around.
Sure, I was watching a video from Jack Black does like a BTE style show on YouTube. And he had to go into a Target to buy underwear, and they tried to keep it out of the frame, but it's very clear that he had a security guy follow.
Oh yeah,
it's just funny to think about.
It really is. It's also like things like that. Like Adam Savage from the MythBusters is very noticeable at the things that he goes to do. Mm-hmm. So he has, and it's been a long history now of whenever he goes to Comic-Con, he builds a very elaborate full body costume so that he can go and walk around on the floor. Mm-hmm. And he'll never tell anybody what it is until after the show. But he'll give some hints so that, as he's walking around, if people figure it out, he'll take a picture with them and stuff like that. But that's the only way that he could legitimately go walk the Comic-Con floor is, full head to toe covered in some weird ass costume.
This isn't some perverse sympathy shit either, because like, woe is me, the famous people.
Not at all. It's just it's funny that this is like the extent that they have to go to do the things that they love, but it's also like, man, that fucking sucks that you have to go through all these hoops just to go grab a Coke.
The episode opens with the original Elite alone in a hotel room. Upon realizing how long it's been since the three of them were together, but also alone, they begin reminiscing about BTE's early days. From the early clips on Vine, back before the, quote, fancy cameras and CG, end quote, back when, quote, they didn't care about the audio problems, end quote, and when they could, quote, just kill people, end quote. A lot of funny sort of riffing here, sort of true things and horribly not true things. I really enjoyed it. Kenny admits that he feels that BTE has lost its identity, suggests that they, quote, turn back the clocks a little, end quote, and cue throwback title sequence. Which was funny to see. Out of the titles into a funny sequence where Nick and Matt recount getting fleeced for $14 on a bag of pistachios at an airport food stall, which maybe not particularly with pistachios, but we've all been to an airport food stall and pulled away going like, why was that so expensive?
Yeah, but it's kind of the thing is like, okay, you know you're in the airport. Don't buy the normally pricey-ish food item that you would pay, $5-6 for at Whole Foods.
Right.
At the airport, because it's going to be dumb. It's like getting the macadamia nuts out of the hotel minibar. Like, you're paying $47 for that 2-ounce jar. How do you feel about yourself right now?
Nick says it's not all bad news, though, considering they just sold 10,000 tickets in 2 hours for the TV premiere in Washington, D.C.
I was like, oh, yeah, I had to spend $15 on a snack, but we just made like $6 million.
Nick reveals that production was roughly 2,000 additional seats that are on hold, some of which will hit the market soon. Not all of which will hit the market, but some of which.
No, they are doing it in stages so that people can have a chance to get them.
Yeah, and you take more than you need for production at first, and then as you can kind of whittle down what you're going to do, then you sort of release things. The team had apparently thought that the top end for the day would be 6,000, which makes sense because of how much they gave away about what's going to happen on the show ahead of time. Like you could tell they were kind of worried about how many tickets they were going to sell for this one.
Yeah, because like they announced Moxley was going to be there, the main event match, another match, and then we'd already known that the tag team tournament was happening, the women's championship being crowned, and it's like, okay, guys.
It does look as though the tag team tournament isn't starting until the following week, till week
Probably so, because that first show's so packed.
Right.
Might be just announcing the bracket.
Yeah, if they reveal that much about television ahead of time, they're probably worried about it selling. And so it's not that shocking to learn that they thought they were only going to do 6,000. I don't know why they thought that.
Because it's like we've talked about, it's a Wednesday.
I get it, but like it's also every time they've put up a sale, with the exception of Fight for the Fallen, which I think was just handled poorly in terms of how they put up the sale. And so like the sale went up wicked early and they had like nothing announced for it, and they did eventually sell out that show, but it took
a long time.
Yeah, it wasn't a quick sellout. Every time they've put tickets up, it's been this big sellout that was more than they expected. So
I think the other side of that is, it's partly their team that's telling them like, hey, this is let's be realistic here, let's not shoot for the fences. And
right, nothing wrong with being temperate about your expectations.
Not at all. And I think it's honestly the better way to go, because then, if you're expecting a sellout on that first day or within 2 hours, like, All Out was, you're going to be disappointed. And there's no reason for that disappointment when it's going to sell and they're going to have a lot of people there. It just may not be in 12 minutes.
The Bucks are headed to Mexico. We hit a travel montage. When they arrive in Mexico City, just as Nick finds out that he has left his contact lenses at home. Nick uses daily contacts, which are only good for 12 hours. Matt in the
Even that 12 hours is kind of pushing it.
Yeah, Matt, in the older brotherist way possible, sympathizes while grinning and telling the audience at home that this used to be a problem for him before he got laser correction.
It's like the biggest. Well, you could have got Laser Surgery United, little brother.
Yeah, not mentioning that it'll be a problem for him again unless he gets laser surgery again in like 6 years or whatever it is, right? But yeah. Then we have a funny scene at the hotel where the Bucks knock on Kenny's door real late at night. Nick asks, "Are you in there?" Just as Matt gets a text, they have the wrong room. They're knocking on the wrong door.
I don't know. See, that was the funny thing about that. I was like, I don't know if they actually had the wrong number and Kenny heard them, or if they were like having a dyslexic moment. Or what it was, but man, that was funny that they're just knocking on some random person's potentially empty room at probably 3 a.m, and it's like, oh shit.
The Bucks reveal that they have a new camera with a microphone, but they haven't tested it yet. This episode is the test. It looks better.
I don't give a shit about the video quality. I can hear everything now.
Yeah, the video quality is whatever. And the audio is still not perfect like it would be if you set up for something, but it's much better. And Cutler is slowly figuring out how to use a manual focus. Which, he had a little bit of trouble with during this episode, but honestly less than I thought he would have. Matt says the new setup was a gift from Jeff Jones. H&R Block CEO Jeff Jones? I can't imagine. I imagine that's somebody that they know.
Just some guy. That's what I'm figuring.
Or maybe it is
It could be him, but
CEO
I'm just
Jeff
also
Jones,
saying it's just some dude they know.
The boys get to work on ordering a massive room service order, which, man, there must have been 9 plates of food or whatever. 8 Diet Cokes were on it, and
I don't know if they were just teasing that they were ordering a lot of food by speeding this up, or if they were literally just so fucking baked that they ordered $600 worth of food.
When the guy arrives, there's a lot of food there. Now, granted, they're feeding people who, like, you don't know about, too. Because, like, Cutler was in the room as well and stuff like that, so.
But still.
A lot of food. They ordered a lot of food.
They dropped at least $600 or $700 on room service. And that's like really lowballing it.
They then sample a sort of baked stuffed pepper dish that they had, which looked pretty good. It got high marks from all 3 men, which means it must have been pretty delicious. In the morning, the elite visit what appears to be a shopping mall, stopping into what appears to be a store that deals exclusively in Santo merchandise.
Hey, man, I want to go.
Yeah, what the fuck are we doing here?
Right?
But apparently you can go to Mexico and just go into a store that's all Santo shit.
Going to All Out, dude. We should go to Triple Mania next year. We fucked up.
Before meeting up with Cody and riding over to Triple Mania. The Elite sit in their dressing room and compliment Triple Mania's setup. In this segment, they begin to set up Nick being kind of reserved and detached from the vibe of Matt and Kenny and the rest of the group. Now we go to the ring where the Elite are getting used to the room prior to showtime. There's a funny bit of back and forth between Matt and Kenny where they verbally try to one-up each other, coming up with anecdotes about how much they want it and love the business. Matt talking,
as you do.
Matt talking about how he got a delivery notification today, but he doesn't care because he had to be here in Mexico, right? Like, very sort of mundane stuff being the idea. I thought it was kind of a funny bit. They then turn to Nick and ask him why he's being such a sourpuss. Matt and Kenny ask Nick if he even loves this business anymore. Nick says, "Of course I love this business. You know what? I just miss my family.
Okay.
Matt and Kenny attack Nick, but Nick gives them the slip. Kenny and Matt hit each other. Nick says, "You want to know how much I love this business? This much." He then leaps from the top rope into a crossbody on both men. He then stares into the camera and says, "I love this business," which appears... So this is, of course, a sort of a popular a popular WWE promo trope that they're sort of making fun of here, and appears to have been their joke of the weekend for them. I think it's great. They sort of let this take that they made keep going until everybody starts laughing, which it was kind of cool to see them just not cut something, and just leave it going.
It was really funny that how they did it. Just they knew they were trying to see how long they could go without fucking it up and laughing, and then they was like, you know what, let's just keep that in because it's funny.
Yeah, like I'm sure a lot of the when they tape them, they go that long. This was an editing choice. Next, we go back to the dressing room where Nick and Matt try to get the rest of the Elite team hooked on Mexican candy, which is apparently very spicy. Cody thinks it's fine, not great. Kenny fucking hates it.
Yeah, man, it wasn't just like, oh, this is bad. I mean, he's like, this is terrible. I hate it. Why did you give this to me? I don't like spicy candy.
Cody has a second bite and thinks he might actually like it, but then after a third bite decides that he doesn't.
Like, okay.
We then see a pretty great Triple Mania time lapse of the crowd coming in. That was gorgeous with all the lights and whatnot. Back to the dressing room with everybody geared up. Apparently Kenny's flight is tonight, and they're going to leave for the airport from the arena at the conclusion of the match, basically.
Since we're talking about Triple Mania, you remember how last week and you were telling me, oh, Dr. Wagner's done. He's
not.
Retired.
He
came out at the show like last night. He's like, oh, they stole the match. I'm back in. Like, I fucking told you.
God damn it, Dr. Wagner.
Fucking told you.
It sucks because if you could go out on any match, that would be a match to go out on. That match was amazing. But
sure, I agree, but also
he's just going to keep going.
Yeah, why not? Make
back
all
to
the money, dude.
Back to the dressing room with everyone geared up. Apparently, Kenny's flight is tonight. Oh, I already said that. Fuck me. The last segment was shot earlier in the day in the Elite dressing room. It aired edited in the BTE episode, seemingly because they were not quite ready to reveal all of the information in full, or they wanted an opportunity to do it as a breakout and sort of put extra hype on it beyond being the Elite. The unedited...
I'm gonna go with both, to be honest.
Yeah, the unedited version hit YouTube the following day. To begin, Cody, Nick, Kenny, and Matt celebrate selling out DC, gloat about moving goalposts and whatnot, right? Before Kenny realizes that they have to do another week after DC and another after that.
I was like, oh shit, this isn't a one-off. We have to do this every week now. Fuck.
It was supposedly Nick's job to pick the spot for week 2. Nick is momentarily ashamed, but then has a brain blast. He suggests that week 2 should be in his favorite city, Boston. We're going to talk in a minute. Cody is deeply offended, tries to insult Nick by calling him a mark for Larry Bird. Nick is proudly a mark for Larry Bird.
He doesn't be.
Right. He's like, Cody's just like, you're a mark for Larry Bird. And Nick was like, yeah, I am.
Yeah. What's your point here? You're saying that this is a negative. I don't understand.
Cody says that they need to go to a real city, a city that rhymes with Kelly. And they left this part unedited, that the city rhymes with Kelly, in the BTE episodes. But it turns out it was a fucking red herring. Because nobody catches on to the clue in the room, which is the only thing left unedited. And then Cody says Philly, which doesn't rhyme with Kelly at all in any conceivable way, unless you pronounce Kelly Killy, which he doesn't. Maybe his father would have pronounced Kelly Killy, but
that's the only, or he's fucking with people, which is the more likely option.
Matt does his best impression of the girl from the taco commercial and asks, why not both? So that's the situation here. They then immediately took to social media to sort of hype these events that are going down. Boston, October 9th, Agganis Arena, which is in BU or BC. It's a college.
BC, it's one of those two. I cannot ever remember which one it is, but it's there.
Tickets on sale this Friday, August 16th, priced at $20, $35, $50, $75, and $90 respectively. I know that literally last week I said when they come to Boston, I'll go.
I'll go.
And boy, did they call my bluff. Oh boy.
Yeah, you and one of our other friends and I had a Facebook message, and when that popped up, and you were just like, fuck.
Philly, October 16th, Liakuras Center. Tickets on sale this Friday, August 16th. Prices $20, $35, $50, $75, and $90. So if you're in Boston or Philadelphia, get ready. Tickets will go on sale this Friday. They'll probably both sell out on the day. Boston is like 7,000. Philly is like 10,000.
They're smaller.
That's full
arenas.
capacity, and we know that production is taking 2,000 tickets, right? So
ish, yeah. Those are, and they're smaller arenas, but they're smaller arenas for a reason.
Yeah.
I know Agganis Arena is typically where Dropkick Murphys do their big. That's where they've moved the St. Patrick's Day shows to, because they've blown the doors off the House of Blues.
Right, because it's slightly bigger than the House of Blues is like 2.5.
It's double the size.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a smaller arena, but it's exactly what they need for what they're doing. They're not going to go out here and just like, oh yeah, we're going to TD Garden, guys. No, start small, work your way up big. Don't do what Ring of Honor is doing and have 12 people in the crowd in a 500 person arena.
It's not even that. The biggest thing for me with this choice is that they're both college campuses.
It's a specific, it's college campuses. They're going for the demographic that they need.
I think that's so smart, because especially if it's done traditionally through the college campus, it means that students will probably get a discount to these shows, I would think.
No.
Hopefully. No? Oh.
No,
even if they don't, the point being
it's weird, because even though they do events at these arenas that are part of the college, you don't usually get a discount on them, because it's not, the college is not putting the event on.
Sure.
What does happen, I remember this from when I was in college, we had big things like this happen, even though I went to a very considered small school. They may get into an easier way to buy tickets.
Right.
What I'm trying to say. They may get in a little, like a day early, but it's not like the typical Ticketmaster pre-sale. They may be able to actually go up to the box office. Here's my student ID. I'd like 2 tickets, please, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's super smart, though, because college kids right in that demographic that you want, usually fucking bored as hell.
Especially on a Wednesday.
Heavy drinking crowd, gonna go wild middle of the week. Probably more than anyone are likely to go wild in the middle of the week, right? So, I think it's smart to partner with college campuses.
Not sure if you can buy alcohol in that arena.
Does that matter?
Yeah. for sales wise is what I'm saying, but no.
I mean, that doesn't mean anyone's going to be any less drunk than they otherwise would
No, they'll
be.
pregame it, but I just like I don't. There's at least in Georgia, there's really weird rules about where alcohol can be sold if the arena is on the campus.
I don't want to be a dick or anything, but Boston is a different situation than Georgia.
Oh, it depends on it's state to state, but yeah,
Sure.
even still, like it's still on the college campus. They get colleges get funny
but
about
they
alcohol.
produce sports events there. You know what I mean? Like, and Boston's relationship with alcohol. Boston, a city built on a heavy Irish culture, and their relationship with alcohol is different than it is in a lot of places. So,
That's true. It's just I don't think it's
wouldn't
really going
shock
to be an
me.
issue, but it's like it's one of those things.
I think it's really smart. I think they're looking for that demographic of 18 to 34, whatever it is, right? And guess who falls right in there? College people.
Yeah.
And also,
the flip side of that is like if it comes to being a point of like, oh, it's not going to sell out, they can just give tickets to the college kids who will actually show up.
the other thing that's important, specifically with the Gannis Arena, is that it's like a lot of things in Boston because of how old the city is, because of how the city was built. It's on the college campus, but the college campus is in the middle of fucking town.
Yeah.
It's like
also, like-
it's not far from Kenmore Square.
No. Like if anybody's in traveling to Boston or going to this show, you can take the T to and from the arena.
Yeah, because of how Boston is set up, man. It's one of those old cities where, like a lot like Chicago, where the fucking ballpark's in the middle of town. It's just sort of everything's built around everything instead of what you would see now where sort of facilities like that would be on the outskirts in order to have parking and things like that. They're not. Everything's just sort of built around everything else.
Or you have the random flip side of that, like also in Boston where Patriots Stadium is like 30 miles outside of town.
It's in the middle of nowhere. It's technically in like a whole different
nowhere.
Yeah, it's in a whole different place. We're going to talk briefly about MJF and Ines Cantor, who traded shots on Twitter. This comes to us from Ian Carey for sportsentertainmentscoops.com, SEScoops.com. On October 9th, AEW will present their second ever show on TNT live from Boston. Off-season free agent pickup of the Boston Celtics, Ines Cantor, is a noted wrestling fan and got into a back and forth on Twitter with MJF regarding the show recently.
Of course he did. It's fucking MJF, of course.
MJF let Cantor know what he plans to do if the Turkish basketball player shows up on October 9th. He doesn't seem too pleased about going to Boston. Quote, cool, let's go to the most overhyped city in the world. Speaking of overhyped, Ines Cantor, I saw you playing wrestler on my feed. How about you stick to playing with your little balls and leave the wrestling to the pros? Or show up on October 9th so I can, quote, bounce your ass out.
Oh my god, dude. He said shit talk everyone.
Classic MJF. Now, I haven't been reading tweets by non-wrestling celebrities in a long time, and let me tell you, there's a lot of fucking emojis used as words, and I want people to know that I'm not in favor of it.
That's not just celebrities.
Ines Cantor writes back, who the F frowny face K is this guy? Bro, get verified before you, the letter U, talk poop emoji.
It's because they probably, since NBA is like, you can't curse on Twitter.
Sure, if you translate this from More on Ease. He says, "Who the fuck is this? Get verified before you talk shit." Cody says, "You'll have to forgive Max. He's passionate." Passionate in quotes.
Cody had to step in on this.
All right. He says, "We'd love to see you in Boston for AEW Wrestling. Our mutual friend says you've got a hell of a diamond emoji cutter." Referring to DDP, because there's a video where an Cancer trained in wrestling with DDP. For whoever made it, I watched about 5 minutes of it and was like, "Oh, this is lame."
Duh.
Ines says, "Save me a front row seat. I'ma be there." There was also a part. MJF sent a tweet that just said, "Sorry, roller coaster." back to Cody, which misses everybody's roundup, but I thought was pretty funny.
That's the funniest thing about the whole interaction is, I know when this whole thing happened, it was Cody and MJF were sitting next to each other in an airport, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this." He's like, "Okay, let me get on this too." And it's like, "All right, okay, guys, you guys are having way too much fucking fun."
Or even not, like, clearly everybody involved knew what was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? Like Cody goes, "Oh, you gotta tweet some shit to Ines Cantor."
MJF's all right.
Yeah, all right, and then he just does it.
I was already on my way of doing that, but that's fine.
So him being involved, that's cool. Boston sports are like a really big thing in Boston right now because they're winning all the time.
Thanks a lot, Bruins. You fucked it up.
It's fun and infectious to be involved with it because I don't care about fake sports. I only watch real sports.
Okay.
Right. But it's like my buddy,
lost, so many listeners.
my drummer is from Nashville, and there's nothing I love more than gloating about how great Tom Brady is. Just not because I care, because honestly, don't care.
Dude, that's like kicking a puppy, though, man. The Titans suck.
There goes our whole Nashville audience.
Okay. Most of Nashville's hockey fans, anyways, because they're better.
Preds, yeah, the Preds. It's become sort of like a living meme in the city to just. We're the best at sports forever, even though we were like the worst at sports forever. The Red Sox never won a goddamn thing forever when I was a kid. The Patriots were the fucking shittest.
Ass,
they fucking sucked like for so long. We're having our moment in the sun, and the rest of the country hates Boston for it because we're being obnoxious about it. But
that's the actual thing, though.
Right.
And it's not even all of Boston sports. It's a very specific set of Boston sports fans that the rest of the world can't fucking stand, including most of the people in Boston.
Yeah, well, just if you're one of those people who can't stand Boston sports fans, keep in mind we've got like 6 years left. Anywhere from 6 to 10 years left of dominance, and then we're back to being.
I wouldn't even say that long.
Shit.
Dude.
Yeah, it's not. It's you're at the end of it right now. And we'll probably go back to being the fucking worst teams in like basically every sport, except for basketball. Basketball we've always kind of been okay at, but
yeah, except that they also fucked up this year and destroyed your.
And hockey. Hockey will probably remain okay as well.
Oh no, actually you won't. There's been some shenanigans there.
Arrow star Stephen Amell reveals why he cannot wrestle again. This headline is kind of wrong for what they end up saying in the article. But
it's called clickbait because you got it from comicbook.com.
Aaron Perney at comicbook.com. Arrow has been a gift that keeps on giving for Stephen Amell. The role has led him to other opportunities like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you could call that an opportunity, and even a couple of appearances in a wrestling ring. But it sounds like there won't be any matches in the Squared Circle after this latest season of Arrow wraps up production. That's not what he says later in the article, but okay. Some fans speculated that Amell could have been gearing up for a potential career shift when the show reached its conclusion. The man who plays Oliver Queen has hinted in the past that although he loves the world of sports entertainment, there were no plans for him to pursue that avenue full time. He reiterated those thoughts during Arrow's stop at the Television Critics Press Tour. Amell told the audience, "I can't get back in the wrestling ring. I risk divorce," end quote. That's a pretty good reason to keep himself out of harm's way. The Arrow star has hinted at the fact that his wife doesn't exactly love her husband's appearances in the WWE and other promotions. But in the past, his full-time role on the show has proved to be a sizable barrier to entry. Amell previously delayed production on Arrow as a result of his wrestling exploits. Quote, "I don't want to have to send an email to Greg Berlanti, who is the most prolific producer in the history of television at this point, Mark Guggenheim, who is one of our executive producers, Beth Schwartz, who is our showrunner this year, Todd Pitson, who is our production manager, James Bamford, who is our producing director, and director of episode 7 of season 7. Amell explained at a panel at MegaCon, right before episode 7 of season 7, I wrestled Christopher Daniels and I fractured my hip. There was nothing to be done. I couldn't get any worse. It could just not heal as fast, and we had to do the most stunt-heavy episode of the show, Amell told the audience. I had to send a note going, I know I'm an idiot. Don't treat me any differently. This is on me. Apologies. I don't want to have to send that note again, so until I'm done with the show, I'm staying out of the Squared Circle.
Yeah, which was last month, and we'd already talked about that whole thing, because we already know this next upcoming season of Arrow is the final season. That's why I was thinking, like, oh yeah, Amell's probably going to jump in and do some things with AEW. So I mean, the whole thing is kind of clickbaity. It's just dumb. He's not actually saying I'm never going to be in the wrestling ring again. He's just saying, like, oh yeah, my wife might leave me.
Yeah, what was funny about this article, not to comment specifically on comicbook.com because I don't need to, because you already have. He says that it looks like this is ML shooting down that he would do more wrestling stuff after the end of Arrow, but he doesn't say that in the quote at all. Instead, he says, I will not do more wrestling stuff until after Arrow.
Yeah, which is
way different.
Everybody knew in the first place,
right?
And then they had to like back up their article of bullshit by pulling shit from 2 months ago.
Yeah. Just want to run through some quick news here. AEW has trademarked, quote, AEW Revolution. Intended purpose unknown. We do know there is one more yet to be named pay-per-view set for this year. We do know that the television is supposedly going to have a name beyond All Elite Wrestling. Unfortunately, I think, but they are going to give it a television name. We learned this from the Critic Awards this past week.
I have seen in some places that the AEW Revolution is the name for the TV, but nothing has been confirmed because obviously no one's going to confirm that.
Right, until they're ready to actually reveal that.
Right, which if it's AEW Revolution as a TV show, that's fine with me. It's cool. It's a little going to be, a dumbass title in a year. But if that's also the title of a pay-per-view, that's a real one-off pay-per-view name.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see on that one, but they did trademark it. It is something to keep in mind. The other thing I want to bring up is this quote from Tony Khan. The rest of the article was kind of fucking useless, but this quote is important. It is from the Television Critics Awards. Quote, in terms of putting shows out there for free, we took a bath financially and on that, and I took a big hit, Khan said. And I was willing to do it as a company because I believed in our brand of wrestling. So that's an important thing to note, that he at least says that they took a big financial hit on that, which I
don't
probably
know about that, man.
I believe because TNT isn't paying for it and production costs are big for a show like that. That being said, one of these shows, Fight for the Fallen, was done in a building that they own, so it's not really a big hit for them.
The other side of that is Fighter Fest. It's not like they really had to pay a lot of production costs there.
Correct.
So I think they may have lost money. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I think he's speaking hyperbolic with this.
Yeah.
Because yes, they may have lost some money here. They probably made that back in viewership by making this free.
Oh, for sure. I have no doubt that it was worth it.
Yeah, it was absolutely worth it. It's just and I read this article too. This article was such horseshit. and it was all just kind of clickbaity stuff I hate to say it, like it was a typical Fox News kind of article where it's like AEW takes huge financial losses to do shows, and it's like, not really.
Yeah, that's not what he was saying. He was just saying that they didn't make money off of producing the shows for free.
And he's basically saying that of the money that they did lose, he took it out of his portion of any revenue.
Right.
Which is fine, okay? It's not like you don't have $1 billion. What's $100,000 gonna cost you? Nothing. That's like pocket change to you, bud.
Right.
Not that, I'm talking shit about Tony Khan at all. He's fucking hilarious, and I love that he is upfront about this kind of stuff. It's great.
He says here, we took a bath on it, but I was willing to do it because I believed in lowering the barrier to entry, basically, for fans. And hopefully that strategy worked out. I know there were a number of people who came on with those shows who got excited with those shows. So hopefully the strategy paid off. Hey, man, if you can afford to give away a sample of your product for free, then go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you and I talked about it quite a bit leading up to Double or Nothing. And it's like, there's going to be a lot of people who end up not watching this because it's, for this specific show, it's too expensive. And that's completely understandable.
Yeah, in this day and age where your major competitor is giving away the pay-per-views for $10 a month, like, it's difficult to sell your pay-per-views at $50. Now, I think Double or Nothing was worth that.
It was.
I think All Out will be worth that. But
it absolutely was. But, I mean, if somebody came up to me and was like, I'm not going to watch All Out because I just can't afford it, I'm not going to, like, okay, I understand, man. 100%. Yeah, $50 is a lot to drop for, 4 hours. I get it.
Yeah. It is. Web is Jericho. Let's talk briefly about this. Chris Jericho this week has launched a brand new website called webisjericho.com.
So is this where he's going to be putting all of his fucking moon landing was fake bullshit?
Dude, probably.
I'm in for it.
This is not, as one might expect, a traditional Chris Jericho website, but rather a Deadspin-esque news and editorial site focused on Jericho's three main passions: heavy metal, pro wrestling, and horror movies. Funny anecdote, I was at work the other day, and this guy I was working with, he comes up, he goes, "Hey man, do you like horror movies?" And I said, "I love horror movies."
You fucking weirdo.
he was like, really? What kind of horror movies do you like? I was like, I don't know, man. I'm into some weird shit. Took him way too long to realize I was saying horror movies instead of horror movies.
Because you're from Maine, I get it.
Right.
So clever.
And then when he finally figured it out, he was like, wait, what the fuck?
There's no midgets involved. I'm out.
Right. The site is staffed with writers John Canton and Buck Woodward, as well as, quote, hand-picked, end quote, freelance contributors and staff who can still apply on the site. This is a fucking weird idea.
So the staff is basically, he's posting articles under pseudonyms of just dumbass. It's Mike Fozzie Bear.
No, I think it'll be the same people who contribute to Kotaku at a low level, like the same people who contribute to these different sites at a low level. Really weird use of a celebrity brand.
Not really. Not in this day and age. Not anymore, dude. This is like, I'm surprised that there aren't more of these.
I can't imagine being a follower of this site. I need more. I love horror movies and I love wrestling and I love metal.
Yeah, you're talking about a very, very, very specific subset of people.
And I love Chris Jericho.
Like 5 guys.
I feel like this is maybe a site just for Chris Jericho to go and read, so he doesn't have to read news he doesn't care about.
He can just go in one spot and read all the shit that he cares about, and then make like weird ass articles about how the moon landing was faked.
Very strange idea. But for those that want it, it's there. Webisjericho.com. They have some articles up already, and if you want to be a contributor, you can apply right on the site.
We say all this now, but in like 6 months, when we're sponsored by Web is Jericho, we're just gonna have to take this episode down.
We're not, because Web is Jericho is sponsored exclusively by Chris Jericho stuff. So,
yeah, when there are sponsors, what I'm saying.
Right,
yeah.
Sure. When there are sponsors, they can't be our sponsors and a Podcast One sponsor at the same time.
Sure.
Or Westwood One, wherever the fuck he is now, the Jericho Network. All Out poster is up on pwtees.com, $24.99 plus Pro Wrestling Tees shipping and handling, from Jonathan Bartlett, who did the Double or Nothing poster. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I will be buying one of these when we get to Chicago.
Yeah, I might buy one before Chicago.
I'm not paying a fucking asinine shipping.
I hate the shipping, but I also hate carrying a poster home on an airplane.
I've done it every year for the past 7 years.
Look,
doesn't really bother me anymore.
I understand that you're fucking crazy. I'm saying I don't want to do it, okay?
As long as you make sure that you get a poster tube, it's fine. Which, thank you God, Sal, for selling the Throwdown posters with poster tubes the past 2 years. Thank you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, the Bad Boy Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, MJF, Darby Allin, Pentagon Jr., Phoenix, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Nyla Rose, Hikaru Shida, Dr. Britt Baker, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, Christopher Daniels, Sean Spears, John Moxley, Kenny Omega, The Hangman Adam Page, and Chris Jericho adorn the poster. And it's interesting because they could have done this with photo compositing like basically every other indie does. But there's something about having Jonathan Bartlett do it in art, and like the photos that he uses to draw from, I've seen a lot of these photos. It's really not different from just using the photos, but something about doing it in an art style ties it all in much better and makes it look much more professional. And
makes it look like you're actually getting a poster instead of what some 14-year-old threw together in Photoshop.
Right. Yeah. A lot of indie posters. There are some indie posters. Knowing the very small amount that I know about using Photoshop, there are a lot of professional wrestling posters where I'm like, wow, did you really put no time into
because
making this
like
thing?
it's not even that, but it's also just like people say, oh, just go Photoshop this. They don't understand, like, it is not as easy as you think to do.
It's a long process.
It takes a lot of time, and it's something that you have to get a touch for. Mm-hmm. As much as like you can just read some books and learn the tools, but until you have the touch to do it and see how it's gonna blend, you're gonna have those indie-esque posters, as well as if you just pay somebody $20, you're gonna get what you pay for.
My friend Jonathan Davis knows this because he has a degree in graphic design.
I do. I did this once upon a time.
We're going to talk about this now on this show, even though it'll probably be on Being the Elite later today when you're hearing this. On Friday night, the Young Bucks wrestled their final independent match against Private Party at Hog House of Glory, High Intensity 8. Following the match, Matt Jackson took to the microphone to announce that Private Party versus the Young Bucks would be the opening match of not only the second episode of AEW on TNT airing October 9th from Boston, Massachusetts, but that it would also be the opening match for the entire tag team tournament.
Oh, I didn't see that part. I saw that it was going to be one of the first round matches, so that makes a lot more sense.
So we know that the tag team tournament is going to start on the second episode from Boston.
It makes total sense. I imagine that first episode that they are going to do essentially bracket reveal of telling who's going to be in the tournament.
They have 2 hours. They have to crown a women's champion. They have to have that main event match. They have to completely introduce this new world, basically.
It also
to people.
Depends on how much commercial is going to be on this, so that's something to think about.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they're sort of pushing the tag team tournament, especially with all they've announced. I was like, wow, they got to do this Cody match. They got to do the main event. Moxley's got to show up. They got to crown the women's champion. They have to bring everybody in. They have to sort of make their case, right? Because it's a pilot. So, not a pilot, but
it's
first
essentially
episode.
A pilot.
Well, usually a pilot you would make, and then
6 months later they
decide whether or not they want to buy more of them, right? They've already bought more of them.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, it's still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later on, after a bit of a scuffle, Hangman Page made a save before cutting a promo on Jericho, perhaps the final time that we will see AEW use the indies to forward AEW storylines, which has been an interesting time to see that happen. Maybe we'll see it again after All Out, but I don't
think we'll see it after All Out, but we might see it in the next once more in the next few weeks. But like you said, I really wouldn't count on it.
Yeah, the Bucks are officially. This is the Bucks' last thing that they're doing.
Cody said he's already done. He did his months ago, but yeah, I really wouldn't count on seeing much of it. But that's kind of how the great thing of what they're doing is that they'll just pop up and do it.
I thought it's been kind of a cool time that they've been doing this thing, kind of unprecedented, kind of interesting.
For sure, man.
TV's coming, man.
It's highlighted indies. It's got driven up attendance to indies so and so's been announced, so someone might show up.
Right.
It's been a lot of fun. The interesting part to me is it's not even like I've heard that the match that they had was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I could see something. There's supposed to be a match either happening soon or like right after All Out with Moxley and Pentagon. I could see them doing a little something there, but I think, like you said,
the at New England Wrestling.
That I really, even if I can't. I know I can't go, but I want to watch it.
Yeah, I hope they put it up somewhere.
So they might do a little bit something there, but like you said, this is probably the last one.
Mm-hmm. The Hangman promo was kind of interesting. I didn't transcribe it, but basically he talked about Jericho has a lot of gall to take credit for AEW, and got the line over. He said AEW only exists because Matt and Nick were willing to do some cowboy shit. Some real cowboy shit, and cowboy shit got a chant and stuff like that.
Of course it did.
I think it's a great line. The road to All Out number 4. Let's talk about it. The episode opens with a tribute to the one and only Harley Race. Very WWE style. I'd kind of like to see their tributes kind of step out from being so WWE style.
There's only so many ways that you can do something like this.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I think they could be more creative with it than they are.
I agree, but I think that this is something that it hasn't come up yet for them, so they can take the time to actually think about it going forward. So I really wouldn't.
We then go to the control center where we find Alex Marvez, who is selling the script he has been given with all the conviction and personality of a kidnap victim.
He was like a fucking mannequin up there. It's like, you are supposed to be a sports journalist.
I don't
understand. I get it. He's Tony's friend, but
I guess that's the reason. That's got to be the reason, right? Because he's not. He's the worst broadcaster that they have.
He has the personality of a doorknob.
Fucking.
Well, it's an insult to doorknobs.
Van Vliet fucking runs circles around this guy.
And he was, like, you could tell Van Vliet wasn't trying at all.
Right. There's an effortlessness to the people who are good at this, to Shivani, right?
Yep.
To Van Vliet, that isn't there for Marvez. Marvez seems genuinely afraid of everything that he's.
Yeah, he gets it. You can tell, like, he's fine. Turn the camera on, he freezes. Which, if you are a sports journalist, that is not something you can do. You have to have a personality. You have to be able to just roll with it and not be afraid of everything. I think if this was one of our first interactions with him, we probably wouldn't be as harsh about it. But having on the commentary where he's not seen by anyone and he's a cardboard cutout and doesn't know what's happening, to this, where this is actually sports journalism, which what he should be good at doing.
It's not even fucking live though. So like, if he was not feeling right, he could have done another take.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this is actual sports journalism where you're reporting on something and you can't do this. The fuck, man? What are you even doing here?
It's tough. And I don't want to shit all over the guy because he's fucking trying. He's making a living. He's trying to do the thing, but there's something I don't understand how someone with such a sports broadcast background is really not good at this job.
The only thing I can possibly think of is maybe he was just a reporter, not writing articles and stuff, and never has been in front of a camera before. Which is fine. That makes sense. I can understand that, but it's also like, why do you decide now to jump in front of a camera?
Yeah. Marvez then recaps Triple Mania's results, intercut with some fan cam highlights. Odd that AAA does not allow them to use their footage.
Not odd at all.
Just strange that they wouldn't be allowed to do that in the partnership, but okay. Marvez reminds us that the ladder match at All Out is happening before bumping us to the good portion of the episode.
Well, you gotta think of it like this, man. The only way you can get the actual All Out footage, you have to be a subscriber on Twitch. So
yeah, the Triple Mania footage, yeah. Or you can watch it on TV in Mexico with the angles all fucking different and shit.
But no, I wasn't surprised by that at all.
Marvez shoots us over to Brandy, who asks rhetorically how AEW intends to determine who is going to be first in line for a shot at the AEW Women's World Championship, which we know will be crowned on the first episode of TV airing live October 2nd from Washington, D.C. Brandy answers her own question and says that the Casino Battle Royal will return at All Out. The rules of the Casino Battle Royal will not be altered for this version with the women.
Fine with me. Still needs a better name.
Yeah, kind of weird that they've kept this name, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get it from a marketing standpoint. Just keep the name, but it's also like the name for this and the buy-in. Like, these all made sense when you were in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Now it's just dumb.
Brandy then addresses the elephant in the room, that the Casino Battle Royale requires 21 talents, and AEW's female roster is officially only 8 talents deep. Now, there are talents that they're in touch with in addition to those talents, but
as well as partnership, because I don't think the Joshi women were counted in that.
and two of them were.
Right.
The rest of them were not. So it's not. There are more talents that will likely be there, especially Joshi talents. But officially on the website, it's 8 women. So, and Brandy's one of them, you know. And Brandy seemed to hint that she would be in the Casino Battle Royale, which she should be. We then cut to a picture of a woman that I did not recognize, who very quickly identifies herself as the daughter of the hot rod, Roddy Piper. Ladies and gentlemen, Teal Piper is All Elite. Man, what a huge get for them, dude.
Absolutely, dude. And something to note is that she is signing with AEW, which is different than the rest of the women we're about to talk about.
Sure.
That's a huge get.
The fact that she's not going to that she wasn't bought by WWE years ago is fucking shocking to me.
I think her dad had a lot to do with that. Not saying anything bad about him. I'm saying that he probably said no.
Yeah,
you're not,
probably said don't go there.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go, if you want to wrestle, then wrestle, but don't go there.
Yeah. You know, just from how he was and how they ended up treating him after he left the company, wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I think it's a huge get. It was a great introduction for her. It's a great number 1 entry announcement because it gets a lot of interest from, you know, other fans that aren't really AEW people yet.
Well, it's great for them to have characters like this, like Cody, like Tully Blanchard, right? Like people who are historic in pro wrestling. And Teal was born into being historic in pro wrestling because of who her father is. Now, that's not saying every character needs to be that, but the more they get, the one thing that WWE has that AEW doesn't have is history.
Yeah.
So if you can buy talents that have history just by being who they are, then you've got it. It's okay.
To an extent, that doesn't mean that you should just go out here and sign every wrestler's kid or wrestling related relative just to have the name, which is what WWE did, and that's why we have so many mediocre women in that division.
The great thing about Teal, though, I think she's different than, say, Noelle. Like, I like Noelle, but her dad and her dad's legacy is so, despite the fact that he worked everywhere, is so tied to WWE because of how big he was there. And Piper was big in WWE, but Piper was a big territorial guy too.
Yeah.
And that's easier for people. Basically, when she comes on the screen, people remember Roddy Piper and not necessarily WWE.
Yeah, agreed. And also because of just how far removed we are from Piper being in WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like late 80s, early 90s when he was doing
well,
that
he's
stuff.
he's come back here and there though.
Right, but not to the extent of like where you see Foley on TV every other month.
Right.
I mean, obviously he can't anymore because he's passed away, but still this is a big get. My beef with Noelle in particular is she seems to be wanting to be involved with AEW, not as a wrestler, which is fine. I think she'd be a good reporter. Mm-hmm. She needs to stop being in the front row of every show. Which I get it. It's fine.
Maybe she just wants to watch, dude. But watch it in an area where she's on camera too.
Yes, that's kind of the thing. Is like every AEW show, except maybe Fight for the Fallen, she is on the hard cam.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we both know she didn't buy that seat. So it's like, come on, just...
Teal states that she was relatively sheltered from pro wrestling as a child. Roddy's love for the business was undeniable, but as a man whose art had regularly brought death threat from the performer and promoter and fan alike, he was terrified that someone may target his family. However, as Teal grew, so too did her passion for the sport that had made her father a cultural icon. And with Roddy's passing in July of 2015, Teal found new motivation to finally chase her dreams and maybe find a greater connection to her father along the way. I love this story. I hope she's good. She has...
even if she's not good, she'd be a real good manager.
She's the type of thing I think this roster needs, a sort of a connection to history.
Yeah.
Shout out to the AEW crew for not giving a fucking cent to Getty Images.
Yeah, they just used all of her and her family's pictures.
It's just unabashedly using watermarked images all over this thing, which is
I
great
didn't even see
because
that. That's funny as hell.
I love it because Getty, of course, known for stealing images and selling them, basically. At the end of the day, if it's an image of you and your dead dad that they took without having you sign a release form or whatever and are now selling, they're not going to take you to court over that because they don't want to know how that case would shake out.
They don't want to, shoot themselves in the foot.
But because my guess is the court of public opinion would sway that pretty heavily, and I'm pretty sure any judge would be like, yeah, if you take pictures of this kid and her dead dad, she can use them. I think it's fine.
Can you just imagine the conversation when we're talking to, I'm sure Tony about this, and they were like, should we go buy the rights? And he's like, nah, fuck them. Let them sue me. I have better lawyers.
But love Teal Piper. It remains to be seen if she can cut it in the ring. I know she's been training for some time, but
hey, like I said, even if she can't, she will be, just of how that little segment went, she would be an amazing manager.
I hope they reach out to Shaul Guerrero too, and get her in, even though she's kind of off again, on again with the business.
She was saying on Instagram about how her burlesque thing is now finished. So, which is
then we will have
day.
to see.
Sad day.
But she cut a pretty decent promo. We now see Jake the Snake Roberts smoking
seemingly the role he was born to play. This was fucking awesome.
How he hasn't been doing this at Vegas for the last 20 years, I don't know.
Could you imagine if he was just at Vegas and he was whatever casino was like, hey, you want to pay an extra $20, fee, and you can have Jake the Snake be your blackjack dealer? He makes so much money.
He's smoking a cigarette and he's dealing out cards. He throws a card to Teal Piper, which the camera catches it. Looks like a 5 of clubs.
Not that it matters.
Right, because it'll be different than where she ultimately ends up being. But it's funny that the camera almost clearly shows the card. Teal Piper says, I bet that they're all out of answers. But where I come from, we're taught to change the questions. It's time to pay the piper. And her acting on it was actually really good. So now, granted, she had enough takes, but she did better than Marvez did. So that's a plus. Cut back to Jake, who says to a figure across from him that she might want insurance on this card before handing it over. And who should pick it up but La Sicaria herself, the baddest bitch in the building, Ivelisse. Awesome to see Ivelisse involved. She is Jonathan and I, of course, covered Lucha Underground forever. She was a huge star in Lucha Underground, had great matches over there, even with talents that were terrible like Sexy Star. So I am super excited to see her get a chance to wrestle matches in AEW.
Yeah.
She's not technically signed, but she is being brought in for this match. As we know with AEW, getting brought in for a match is often the first step. And then you can sort of continue to do more things. Now, of course,
it's like anything else. It's an interview.
Right. Of course, as people know, Ivelisse has had a history of sort of issues getting along with people backstage, but she's fucking awesome, and I hope that she continues to work for AEW because I love her matches.
It's really going to come down to two factors. If she can get along with everybody, she will run roughshod over this company in the women's division. On the other side
I think
of that,
she's a more talented in-ring performer than basically any woman they have in the company
yes,
right now.
And she has come very far from when we were watching her in Lucha Underground. The other side of that is I'm hoping and I'm praying that she has tempered her style of wrestling so that she can actually stay healthy.
Yeah, that's kind of the biggest issue with her is that she is
Fragile.
injury-prone.
She's
Yeah.
like she like the first or second taping of one of the seasons of Lucha Underground where it was very clear that they were building the trios division up on the back of her. I think it was Jack Evans, maybe.
It was her and Helico and
Son of Havoc.
Son of Havoc.
Yeah, they were building the trios division off of her. They had their first match on the first taping. She had just come back from having a broken ankle. She breaks her ankle, and you can hear her say in the shot, like, "Not again, are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
And they left it in, too. That was the funniest part.
I think she's one of the talents that the roster really needs. These are both, her and Teal, I think, are super salient picks. Her, for different reasons. Teal brings the history, and Ivelisse brings the expertise in the ring that I don't think a lot of the talents they've been using so far really have.
Yeah, probably. No, not really. Not yet,
Cut back to
anyways.
Jake. Jake says, "You want to play 21? Well, I got 22, so maybe we'll have 22 competitors like we did last time."
Or Jake just can't count, which is also very, very valid.
Jake throws the card. A figure in a mask picks the card up, laughs maniacally, and places the card back down. The figure removes the mask. It's Jazz.
That mask was dope, man.
Jazz says the bitch is back. Jazz, a figure in pro wrestling that I am unfamiliar with, but apparently has quite a title lineage in a number of companies, including WWE. So
WWE, I think WCW as well. It's yeah, she's been in the business for a while. I mean, just that line right there builds in the if they sign both of these women, the first feud, because they're now going to be arguing over who is the bigger bitch.
It's great to see older women involved too, to the extent that older men are involved in the men's division. You know, everyone kind of bringing something different. The last 3.5 minutes or so is a deep dive into the other side of Nyla Rose. Not the break bitches, take riches monster, but the champion of great adversity. Nyla reveals that she was already in wrestling school when she began presenting as a female.
Oh,
she had
before you go any further, we're not going to do this any justice. You absolutely need to go watch this.
Yes,
we're
go and watch this.
Skim this real hard, but this was a really awesome segment.
I didn't transcribe it because it felt
so personal.
Yeah, it felt like it wouldn't feel right coming from me. You should go hear her say it. The Road to All Out, episode 4. It's on the All Elite Wrestling YouTube channel. She had expected that wrestling would not accept this part of her, but she could not continue to live a truth that was not hers. To her surprise, while she'd expected wrestling to shun her, the wrestling world was the first to embrace her. She talks openly about feeling that she was that had she not made this change for herself, she probably would no longer be here with us. Her greatest hope is that the efforts she has made for herself and the exposure that she will get from AEW can help make a difference in the lives of those who still struggle with their gender identity or with the troubles that plague members of that community. I love this so much. For background on me, not somebody who's a part of this community, but I know the suicide rate for transgender people is a huge issue. The things that they deal with are so much heavier than people understand who aren't a part of that community. In the United States, it's unbelievably high. Wrestling is about giving people heroes, and some people need heroes more than you'll ever know. And I'm proud that maybe AEW can do that, even if it's just for one person who really needs it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just one person, then the goal was achieved.
Right.
You know, after that one person, everything else is just, it's gravy. It's wonderful that more people can have a hero. And that's really something that you and I have both seen with AEW and the people that they've been signing from, you know, Nyla Rose to Marco Stunt, just Private Party. That's another good example.
Right.
They're not really being They're not looking for a specific type of person. They're looking for good performers and good people, not you're
Right,
an Adonis male.
And everybody deserves to have somebody they can root for, you know? That's what wrestling is about. So I'm excited that AEW is cognizant of that AEW is trying to find that for everybody and to represent everybody. And it's not about like some what assholes would call SJW shit or whatever, making sure everybody's involved arbitrarily. No, it's about trying to develop a hero that everybody can see themselves in, that everybody can get behind. And I'm not, like I said, not a member of this community myself, but I'm sitting here going, man, Nyla Rose has such a great story. I would love to see her take the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be down for that. I mean, she's put on some really, really good matches so far that I'm not, I can't wait to see what else she does and who she works with, because man, she's a good performer. Has a great gimmick, good in-ring skills. I haven't really seen her on the mic much, but I'm sure she can probably handle that with ease. So let's keep it going. It's a wonderful story that they have presented to us.
It's a great job, and you know, if there's a kid at home who's feeling directionless, feeling hated for the things that they feel inside, and they can see Nyla Rose being herself and being successful and kicking ass, then
awesome.
That's great. They need that more than I do.
Yeah, absolutely,
you know?
man.
So that's the end of the episode. Again, go and watch that. Nyla Rose just killing it. The whole episode's pretty hype, except for Marvez just
shitting all over the first 2 minutes.
But you know,
yeah.
God willing, he'll come along, maybe.
So another fun part that we're probably going to cut out later. Cody just posted on Twitter like 3 minutes ago, 5 minutes. So,
yo, what the fuck?
That's what I was thinking.
So I guess we'll have a bigger episode next week. Oh Jesus!
Yeah, but I saw that and I was like, and I clicked on his name and I was like, what? Okay, well, there's some other stuff here, and there's nothing for a whole day, and I'm like, God damn it!
Whatever this is in reference to, it will have happened between when we're recording this on Sunday and when we launch on Monday. So bear with us.
We'll talk about it, but it's also like,
you know what? Fuck it. Can we wait 5 minutes?
We only got like a minute or two left, so it's fine. And it's also like why I said we could probably cut this out is it could just be, oh, he's getting on a flight, he's gonna do like Q&A real quick.
All right, so we'll do the end of the show spiel and we'll come back to this. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars just like Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet, Jonathan. How sweet?
Too sweet, man. Too sweet.
Too sweet. Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite with no G. But most importantly, if you want to roll with the crew, real style, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite to join our Discord server. An awesome, involved community of AEW wrestling fans from all over the world talking about, movies, video games, anything you want to talk about, we talk about it. A great community of friends over there.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Go ahead and get in now because, we're ramping up for our next round of scorecard game. So
yes. Scorecards coming for All Out, which is going to be wild. I do want to talk briefly. As I said, Jonathan and I did a show about Lucha Underground previous to this for years called Podcast Underground. Lucha Underground went up this week. All 4 seasons, including the 4th one that isn't as good as the other 3.
I think you mean the 3 seasons and then the Elseworld.
Right, the spinoff.
Yeah.
Went up on a service called Tubi this week. Tubi is like a free ad-supported version of Netflix. If you've always wanted to get into the show, this is actually the first time where certain parts of the globe are able to see this show at all. I know
It's the first time it's actually ever gone on free anywhere.
First time it's ever been free anywhere. That's true. I know that I think the EU is the only place that is not allowing this, but outside of the EU, you can watch this in. I think Australia said that they had it. So if you've been wanting to get a look at that show, never has there been a greater opportunity. The first 9 episodes, they're okay, but after that it really picks up. Watch them chronologically, have a great time, see sort of career highlight runs from Pentagon, from others, and a real unique vision for professional wrestling that I don't think we'll ever see again.
Hell no. No.
Like pro wrestling mixed with a Marvel movie, just fantastic. And if you have the time and the inclination, check that out on Tubi. TUBI Tubi. Jesus, I'm doing everything in my power to stop myself from watching through again, even though I've seen the show so many times now. Other than that, still waiting on Cody.
Oh yeah, you're good. We're good.
Other than that, we're gonna get out of here. Jonathan, do you have anything more for these people before we go?
No.
Appreciate you all more than you'll ever know. Thank you so much for joining us again on Seeing the Elite. We're going to get out of here until next week when we come back with this fucking news.
No, we're good. We're good.
We'll see you then on Seeing the Elite. Go out and change the world.